Today I am reviewing and ranking every Maybelline concealer. Are any of them worth buying? Hi friends, welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Julie and I help you find the best affordable beauty, makeup, and fashion items and teach you how to use them to always look elevated, polished, and put together. So I went shopping at Walmart and I picked up every concealer that Maybelline currently sells. I wanted to test each one of them out to figure out what is the best Maybelline concealer. I have a certain ranking criteria for the concealers. So with this criteria, I thought about what do I look for in a concealer. I want a concealer that is going to cover my dark under eye circles, that is going to be full coverage, that doesn't crease in the fine lines, that doesn't look drying, and that also lasts all day. So that is the criteria that I am using to judge each of these concealers. So let's go ahead and jump into this. The first concealer is the Maybelline Cover Stick. This is in the shade 115 and I purchased it for $6.12. This is a stick concealer that has a thick, creamy texture. I totally understand that most people would only use this concealer as a face concealer, but on the packaging, Maybelline does state that you can use this to cover under eye circles. So I wanted to test this out with the other concealers to see how it worked for an under eye concealer. I also tested this out on the face as well. I'm back for the midday check-in and this concealer is not holding up well at all. It's really settling into my fine lines and it's also accentuating my dry skin underneath my eyes. I'll zoom you guys in so you can see how terrible it looks. Yeah, like look at that. Oh. Gosh, it's like aged me by 10 years. And I know in the demo, I did use a lot of this concealer on my under eyes. So I'm sure that definitely did not help with the creasing aspect that day, but I did use this concealer a few other times and I used it lightly and it still creased, did not last. And I honestly don't even recommend this concealer for the face because even with face concealing, I found that it's just not very long wearing, even when you set it with the powder. This ranked the lowest on my list. I just don't understand why Maybelline still sells this concealer. Maybe somebody out there will completely disagree with me and loves this concealer. If that is you, let us know in the comments why you like this concealer or how you go about using it, because I just could not get this concealer to work. Moving on. So the next concealer is the Maybelline Fit Me, and this is in the shade 005 Ivory. I purchased this for $7.58. This concealer has a medium creamy texture. It blends out easily. It looks hydrating on the under eyes, and it looks really good when you first apply it. I do feel like the side with the powder is holding up a little bit better than the side without the powder, but I do find with this concealer it does crease a little bit on me, which is why I stopped using this concealer back a few years ago. It might have actually been like 4 or 5 years ago since I had stopped using this concealer. It is a hydrating concealer and it looks dewy underneath your under eye, but it just, because it is a little bit thicker, it does have a tendency to want to settle. I'm just trying to look up so maybe you can see how it's kind of like settled in the fine lines. If you have any fine lines on your under eyes, this concealer is going to crease. even if you set it with a powder. And I do feel like this concealer is best suited for somebody with younger under eyes that just have some dark under eye circles that they want to cover, but don't have a lot of fine lines. So for my ranking, I'm gonna rate this concealer a 3.5 because it does check off a lot of the boxes, but the main thing for me is that it creases, and I cannot have that in an under eye concealer. So next on this list is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Eraser Concealer. I picked up the shade in 110, purchased it for $8.98. This shade in 110, it has a pink, like a slight pink undertone, so I do find that brightening with this concealer. It has a light creamy texture. It's very easy to blend out. It has a medium coverage. It looks dewy on the under eyes when you first apply it. So far with this concealer, very minimal creasing. I'm very impressed, and I feel like between the side that I set with the powder and the side that I didn't, they look pretty much the same. I can't tell any difference. And I have a love-hate relationship with this concealer. Some days I feel like it looks really hydrating and youthful on my under eyes, but other days I'll apply it and I feel like it doesn't look as youthful, and it accentuating any dry areas that I have on my under eyes. So I'm kind of on the fence about this concealer. I know that a lot of people rave about this, and like I said, there are days when I do enjoy this, but overall it doesn't check off all the boxes for me. While it does cover my under eye circles and it doesn't settle in the lines, I just don't find it as long wearing as I would like for it to be. But I do recommend this concealer to somebody that likes a more natural dewy finish concealer that doesn't have dry under eyes. I think that if you are that person, you would enjoy this concealer. Next up, the Maybelline Superstay Activewear 30-Hour Concealer. This is in shade 11, and I purchased it for $9.98. This concealer has a very thin formula, but at the same time, it is very full coverage. It's holding up really well. I don't have any creasing, and I don't see much of a difference between the side that I powdered versus the side that I didn't powder. It is very full coverage, long wearing, and I do not have issues with this settling into fine lines on my under eyes. This shade in 11 has a slight yellow undertone, which I found to be really brightening on my under eye area. It lasts until I take my makeup off. So overall, I would rank this concealer as Maybelline's best concealer with 5 stars. I've been considering doing this with other brands at the drugstore. Like, I was thinking about doing this with L'Oreal next and purchasing all the concealers that L'Oreal makes and ranking them to figure out what is the best concealer. If you did enjoy this, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.